Strategies to help you navigate to and through retirement with the help from the Vincent Financial Group.
In order to see your portfolio have those big, sexy returns, you have to sit through the non-sexy, painful, my portfolio's down, right? You don't get the up without the down.
Get more at retireatlradio.com. Now, Retire ATL.
That voice was CFP Matthew Decker. We are also here with CFP and investment advisor Aaron Vincent. Thanks for joining us this weekend on Retire ATL, powered by the Vincent Financial Group. 770-741-0120. RetireATLradio.com to meet the team and schedule your initial consultation. Aaron, Matt, the Wall Street Journal did a story outlining the benefits of an IRA to Roth conversion. But that conversion, while on Medicare, could increase your premiums. Should you try to finish those conversions before getting on Medicare, and how will this affect our tax strategy?
There's a lot going on with Roth conversions, and so we probably got to separate a few things out. I think what the Wall Street Journal is talking about here is doing Roth conversions and that potentially increasing your Medicare premiums. Mm-hmm. So for those of you listening, if you are unaware, your Medicare premiums can be surcharged based on how much money you report, your modified adjusted gross income, basically. So your modified adjusted gross income, if it gets too high and a Roth conversion would contribute to that, it can actually surcharge your Medicare premiums. So that's called an IRMA bracket, income-related monthly adjustment amount, I believe is what that stands for.
We don't like IRMA.
Mm-mm. We do not like IRMA. And once you get into an IRMA bracket, you actually have to apply to get out. So it's a tricky little thing.
Apply to the IRS. Sounds fun.
Yeah. And they are really responsive. I'm not sure.
Really quick turnaround.
I mean, it's like no hold times. Yeah. You can chat with a live agent, just be like, hey, IRMA bracket, take it away. And they're like, oh, no problem.
They totally
done.
understand.
I got you.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? We did mess that up. We'll fix that right now.
They're on your side.
They are on your side.
We want you to get your money.
But I do think it's important. So we got to separate this out. Medicare versus just your typical Roth conversion. This actually makes me think of a conversation I had earlier this week, talking with somebody who had us do some tax planning for him. And he was one of those guys that he had a lot of man hours into a spreadsheet. And his plan was he wanted to do all these Roth conversions. He's pre-59 and a half. He wants to retire. He wanted to do all these Roth conversions so that between his retirement date and 65, which is when he would go on Medicare, 65, he could have a low enough income to qualify for an ACA subsidy for his health insurance. Okay, so he's doing 2 years of massive Roth conversions. This was his plan. This was not our plan. Mm-hmm. 2 years of massive Roth conversions so that he could then go and use those Roth dollars, not pay taxes on them, to qualify for a government subsidy for his health insurance.
I mean, I don't hate it.
Hey, it sounds nice.
On paper.
Right? Sounds nice. The problem is, and what he didn't know, was that was going to absolutely wreck his long-term plan. He was just smart enough to get himself into all kinds of trouble. And he called me. He's like, Matt, I got this plan. This is what I want to do. And I'm like, oh, that sounds great. And he's like, yeah, I know. Doesn't it sound great? I'm like, it does sound great. He's like, but I can't make it work. And I'm like, yeah, you can't. I know. You can't make it work. And here's why. Because when you do Roth conversions, the whole point of doing big Roth conversions from your IRAs, from your 401ks, SEP, Simple, 403b, TSP, all your qualified accounts, the point of doing the Roth conversion is to pay the tax now so that those dollars can grow free of tax and be dispersed free of tax. So what it's actually doing is it's making it so that you spend your tax-free dollars last. Spend your tax-free dollars last. You got to give them time to grow. What his plan was to do these huge Roth conversions, pay all the tax, and then immediately spend those dollars, which is the absolute worst thing you can do. From a long-term tax-efficient income plan, it's the worst thing that you can do. And long story short, he was going to save something like $80,000 in health insurance premiums through his subsidy, and it was going to cost him over $400,000 in unnecessary taxes and loss of growth on those Roth dollars.
But he's saving 80.
Exactly. saving 80 to
Lose
lose
400.
to lose north of 400.
If that doesn't highlight one of the sayings that we often say is that, listen, the government's got a plan for your money. And if you don't have a plan that's a better plan, then you're going to fall into theirs by default. How many times, Matt, do we talk to people who have tried to kind of get around and outsmart the IRS only to find that they've thought of everything? They have a plan. They're really good at what they do. There are ways to plan and to mitigate, not overpay taxes. There are ways to do that. But to try to pull a fast one, I think is all but impossible.
But if we were to just boil down Roth conversions, let's say that you're getting ready to retire and you've got a lot of money in qualified accounts. Again, 401k, IRA, SEP, Simple, 403b, TSP. You got a lot of money in qualified accounts. You should be thinking, is a Roth conversion a good strategy for me? Like that, you should be asking that question. Absolutely. And you should know that the timing of when and how you employ a Roth conversion strategy can have a high six-figure impact on the amount of dollars that you can spend in retirement. I'm going to say that again because it's important. The timing, the when and the how that you do Roth conversions can have a high six-figure impact on how much money you can spend in retirement, how much money you leave behind as a legacy, all these things. It's a huge interconnected set of dominoes, and how you do it matters. And if you haven't sat down with someone, and if you have not gone through the process of looking at a thoughtful Roth conversion strategy paired with your income strategy, right? Because you can't just do Roth conversions and not live. You got to be able to do Roth conversions and still spend money. If you haven't sat down and gone through the right Roth conversion strategy for you and your family and your needs, I'm telling you, this is something you need to do because it can have a huge impact on your total nest egg. You should call us 770-741-0120 to have that conversation. You can also go to retireatlradio.com.
This is way more important, or way more significant, I should say, of a difference. This topic makes way more of a difference in your overall retirement in your portfolio than what return you got, for sure. It is way more significant as far as dollars that you have over the course of your retirement. It's a more significant needle mover than what return you get in your portfolio.
And you can control it.
You can control it.
You can't control what return you get.
You can't out-return the tax bracket, as we like to say.
Go back. Will you say that again real quick before you have another thought?
Yeah.
About the IRS. If we don't have a plan for our money,
if we do not have a plan for our money, for how we're going to spend our money, for how our money is going to be taxed, if we don't make a plan for that, we default into the government's plan for our money. And that one's not going to benefit you. I can tell you that right now. That's just, there is no, hey, the system's set up for me for good, and as long as I just head down and save, it's all going to work out. Now, that may be true, but to Matt's point, there are ways, we see it every week in our office, to save potentially, with the timing of Roth conversions and doing some of this planning, 6 figures worth of taxes over someone's 30-year retirement. It happens. We do it weekly. And so on that note, what's also substantial about this is whenever we do this analysis, as we're projecting into the future, we just assume in our tools and our software that tax rates, income tax rates, the brackets, we assume they stay the same. We're trying to make as little assumptions or as few assumptions as possible, but we have to assume some things into the future, right? You can't really project things out without assuming something. So being conservative, we just assume tax rates stay the same. But Matt, I got a question for you, just a hypothetical question. In our lifetimes, let's just say that we're going to live 50 more years. Do you think that the income tax rates will stay the same, increase, decrease? What do you think the future of tax rates is?
I think we've talked about this before on the show. Social Security is set to run out of money inside the next 10 years. Depends on who you ask.
Right.
So I think if you're asking me, I don't see how I pay less tax moving into the future.
Yeah.
Looking at our national debt, looking at Social Security going bust. And by going bust, that doesn't mean nothing. It just means they can't pay benefit increases. Yeah, I don't see how I pay less in taxes.
I couldn't agree with you more. And I ask this question all the time, and 99 times out of 100, people say, yeah, they're going to go up. Well, we dug ourselves into a hole. Tax rates got to go up.
But we've been told, hey, when you retire, you're going to be in a lower tax bracket.
Exactly. That's exactly where I'm going with this. We've been told that. But if it's not true, like we all agree it's probably not going to be true, a lower tax bracket, then what have we done if we keep the biggest part of our dollars, the biggest amount of our nest egg in a qualified retirement account, so that's a 401k, an IRA, all the ones that Matt mentioned, anything that's not been taxed yet. If those accounts are growing because we are saving into them and we're getting investment returns, and so your 401k was $1 million, now it's 1.2, and you're 10 years older, now it's 2 million, or whatever. What have we done to our problem? We've compounded the issue because now we've got our biggest amount of money that's growing in an account that, if our hypothesis is correct, we're going to pay a larger percentage of taxes as time goes on. We've now compounded our problem. So getting money over the fence, using a Roth IRA for an example, into a category of investment account that no matter what happens to tax brackets, no matter what they decide, no matter what our national debt is as far as that's concerned, that pile of money in your Roth IRA, for example, is unaffected by these changes, and letting those grow over time, as contrary to what the guy you talked to was trying to do. Well, but then we get this question a lot because I've yet to have someone in the office who just flat out disagrees with that.
No one's like, you guys are crazy.
You're wrong.
Everyone's like, yeah, I know. That's why I'm here.
Yeah. Then this is often said next. Well, yeah, but I can only put $8,000 a year into my Roth. I mean, I can't really get that far with the Roth, right? And we're like, well, good thought, but that's a Roth contribution. If you're funding a Roth out of your annual income, that's true. There's a limit. And by the way, you should just put this little feather in your cap. If the government puts a limit on what you can do per year, probably a really good indicator it's a good thing for you. Mm-hmm. And so keep that in mind.
They're not limiting it to protect you.
Yes, that's a fact. And so the next kind of conversation is, well, no, you can convert more of your IRA to a Roth, that $8,000.
Whenever you want.
Whenever you want to, much as you want to. But there are also other vehicles to use. It doesn't have to be just a Roth.
Yeah, what if you got like $1 million non-qualified? Right. So that's going to be anything that generates you a 1099. You know, you're doing your taxes, you look at all the mail that you get, and if it's a 1099, what that means is you're paying taxes every single year. It's probably in a brokerage account, it's in an investment account, it's not in an IRA, 401k, SEP simple, 1099s. What if you got a big account that generates 1099s? Because you can't convert that to Roth.
Right.
So now what?
Now what do we do, right? There are lots of options. One of the main ones is, a lot of folks don't know this, the cash value. If you got a cash value life insurance policy, you know, there's whole life policies out there. There are other forms of life insurance policies that you can build cash value in. So life insurance, by definition, you know, kind of you buy an insurance policy, there's a death benefit. It's usually used in planning so that, you know, if while you're young and maybe you've got kids in the house or you're the main income earner and something happens to you while you're the main income earner, you got to protect your family from that income being gone. So
that's term insurance.
That's term insurance. So you buy life insurance. Well, there are other types of insurance where as you pay premiums in, a portion of that premium participates in some kind of an investment feature, and the cash value grows. It's like another asset inside of your life insurance policy. Well, something you should know is that the cash value in your life insurance policy is treated very similarly to a Roth from a tax perspective. Any money in that category that you've got in your life insurance policy is unaffected by future tax rate increases. And that is, having that category of dollars is a way to really defend against or mitigate against the reality, the what if. What if tax rates do go up in the future? What if you have assets and you are like, man, that Roth sounds really attractive to me. I would like to get money over the fence, but you know, most of my money's in a different category.
What if the government decides to tax unrealized gains like they've talked about? An unrealized gain is you have a gain on a position in your portfolio, but you haven't sold it yet. It's a paper gain. And they've floated the idea of taxing unrealized gains, which is wild. It's bonkers.
Let's flesh that out.
Give me an example of what an unrealized gain would be.
So it's like I buy Apple stock. Let's say I put $100,000 into Apple.
Not in your 401k.
Not in my 401k. I just go out to E-Trade or Robinhood or any of these, you know, brokerage houses, and I buy $100,000 worth of Apple stock. Apple stock doubles, and now I've got $200,000, but I haven't sold it yet.
Right.
I still own the stock. They have floated the idea of taxing me on the gain that I have not yet realized. How wild is that?
As it stands right now, the way the regulations or laws are now is that you buy Apple stock for $100,000, it grows to $200,000, you know, if you were to sell that Apple stock, you have to pay tax on the $100,000 worth of gains in that example.
Right.
But only after you sell it. What they're floating, what Matt's talking about is even while that unsold stock sits in your account with that big investment gain, they have talked about taxing you on that unrealized gain in your portfolio before you take it out.
Now they struck it. They're like, we're not going to do that. But just the idea that they would even consider such an absurd piece of legislation kind of shows you, back to your original question, Aaron, do you think tax rates or tax brackets or taxes are going to go up or down in my lifetime? Hey, let's just full stop right here. They have floated the idea of taxing unrealized gains. So I think the answer is crystal clear.
They've got lots of ways to increase taxes without necessarily increasing just the tax bracket amounts.
What I hear you saying, Aaron, is if I'm someone who, let's say I've already done my Roth conversions. You know, I've already taken my IRA. I've done big Roth conversions, but I've got a bunch of brokerage accounts. I got a bunch of accounts that generate 1099s every single year. Traditional thought would say there is no way to get those dollars over the tax fence unless you invest in something like municipal bonds. That would be the only real way to generate tax-free dollars on a brokerage account like that.
Exactly.
You're telling me another option would be cash value life insurance. It's something we do a lot, actually, for high net worth individuals that have already maxed out their Roth, that have already done a good job saving into the market. Maybe they're looking for something that's a different risk profile than your standard kind of stock and bond portfolio. They want less risk. They want long-term. It's a long-term play. It's not a short-term play. It's a long-term play. They want some kind of tax efficiency. They've got a big non-qualified account. They don't know what to do with it. They don't like municipal bonds because why would you? Well, I mean, there are reasons to like municipal bonds, but a lot of people are not satisfied with municipal bonds in their portfolio, and they actually gravitate towards cash value life insurance, and it's a huge piece of their portfolio. If this is new to you, if this is something you've never heard of before, I'm going to encourage you to give us a call. This is something that you should know, especially if you're nearing retirement. 770-741-0120, retireatlradio.com. We are always looking for ways to save on the taxes you will pay to Uncle Sam.
So why are we talking about this? Obviously, taxes are a big one. We ask the question all the time in our office. If someone comes and sits down, even if I just meet someone and they're like, "What do you do?" and I'm like, "Oh, I got to tell you what I do." I'm a financial advisor, and then they usually run away. Yeah, no, but seriously, if I'm on the plane or someone sees, and I meet someone, we'll get into conversation, and I'll say, "Well, tell me, what do you think your biggest expense in retirement is going to be?" I ask that question often, and I get all kinds of answers. Sometimes it's, "Oh, my grandkids, my wife. I mean, she's over the moon. We spent X amount of dollars just last month on outfitting our grandkids' nursery. They're not even born yet. That kind of stuff. Grandkids, travel is a big one. Healthcare is a big one." And I say all good answers, but no, they're all more than likely wrong. They're like, "Oh, geez, what else could it be?" I'm like, "It's taxes." Every time, your biggest expense in retirement will be taxes. So that's why we're discussing this. Now, are we here telling you should go out and buy a big cash value life insurance policy? No, we're not giving advice over the air. But one of our jobs, the most important jobs that we have as advisors is to bring to you ideas that you maybe didn't know existed, or maybe there was some incorrect information surrounding it in your mind, the way it was described to you. But for us to bring options, to bring ideas, to bring ways to be creative in your plan is one of our jobs. I don't think Matt nor I would be sane if, just the way our brains work, if we had to sit down and do the same thing every single day. Look, God bless like factory workers or people who just do the same thing every single day. And I couldn't do it. I have to think in ways of, what's unique about this situation, solving this puzzle. And look, everyone's different. Every single person. I don't even care. If I took 10 of our clients that were all age 60 and all had $1 million, if I took those 10 people and I just compared them as far as what their goals were, their plans were, and what our advice was for them, they would all be different.
Right.
Same demographic, same age, same amount of money. What we would tell them to do based on what goals they have is different. So the reality is we've got to bring ideas to the table. You may be in a very unique situation. I don't know what that might be, but you may be different from others in your demographic. Well, it's our idea. It's our goal. It's our job to bring solutions to the table that you might not have thought of yet. And this is just one of them.
As Aaron just said, no two plans are the same. That's why we invite you to sit down with the team at the Vincent Financial Group. Where do you stand in your journey towards retirement? What adjustments need to be made in your portfolio? When you tell people what you do for a living, it's like a doctor where they say, I've got a rash. When you look at this, they say, hey, will you look at my portfolio and see what needs to be?
Yes.
Hey, that initial consultation, it's no cost, it's no obligation. 770-741-0120. Again, 770-741-0120. We have a representative standing by right now. Or if you need to make the phone call, hang up, lock the number in, call first of next week. That's perfectly acceptable. But you're always available online at retireatlradio.com. And, Matt, we're always talking about the three key pillars that the Vincent Financial Group focuses on: taxes, income, and risk. But who needs to hear this conversation the most? Who needs to be listening to this show more than anybody else this weekend?
If you've done enough saving to retire and you are still working and your portfolio hasn't reflected the fact that you've already done enough, you need to hear this message. So often we have people come into the office, they've done enough savings, they're old enough and they're ready to retire, they haven't pulled the trigger yet, but they're acting as if they're still 40 years old in accumulation phase. And that transition period, the time between when you've already done the bulk of your savings but haven't yet retired, that is so critical, because making a mistake inside that window, it's hard to articulate how costly that can be. But as you approach retirement, the thing that we tell everybody when they come to the office, as you approach retirement, losing money hurts more than making money helps you. So if you are in that transition window where you've done the bulk of your savings, but you have not yet retired, this is the time to start your planning, because mistakes now will cost you way more than they would have when you were 40 or even early 50s.
If you've done a good job preparing for your financial future, got a solid 401k, a savings account, you're lucky to have a pension, let's sit down with the team. Let's have this conversation. That initial consultation is no cost, no obligation. 770-741-0120. Again, 770-741-0120 or retireatlradio.com. Aaron, Matt, thank you as always. Thank you for the education and the information this weekend. Hey, check out the Retire ATL podcast. You can stream it from the homepage at retireatlradio.com. This weekend show, plus a full archive, all commercial free. Stream it at retireatlradio.com. Quick break and we're back with more. This is Retire ATL. It's all powered by the Vincent Financial Group.
Have a question about today's show but can't call right now? Visit retireatlradio.com. You can meet the team, see all the services the Vincent Financial Group offers, and have your financial questions answered. That's retireatlradio.com.